Welcome to the Substitute for War video blog number 10. And in this blog, I'm going to be talking a little bit about the baseball stat OPS. I'm doing a few baseball things this week because the season's ending. I read an article on Miguel Cabrera and the MVP. I think a run stat that kind of is an improvement on RBI. I did that yesterday, so look on that if you haven't on substituteforwar.com. But today I just wanted to talk about something that's been nagging me a little while in regards to the stat OPS, which obviously is used like widely in baseball. And what I've always found kind of interesting is that, I have a lot of respect for the baseball stat guys, and they do all these amazing stats like defense, all these pinpoint position stats, and they seem to think of everything. But then, when I look at OPS, it's got major flaws, and nobody seems to want to touch it. I've seen it written a few times, people criticizing, but in general, it's widely used. It's not really. It's kind of used as a thing that everyone trusts, even though it's by far the most important stat because hitting is the most important, obviously. And I'm just surprised that the mainstream hasn't caught up to the flaws in it as much. So I'm going to go through them a little bit and discuss why I think it's kind of flawed. First off, the big problem with it is that it counts walks and singles as the same. And obviously they're not worth the same because, sorry about that, singles, they advance players on second and third, even when there isn't a guy in first, and walks don't. So that's obviously a huge deal because singles score runs and walks don't. So, and the count are the same in the OPS formula because the count are the same as slugging. But again, it just seems like a clear difference that singles are worth more because the advance runners on the other base is more. In addition to the fact that sometimes walks aren't even good for a team because they set up an intentional base. Double play ability, so that's when a guy gets intentionally walked. So the value of a walk goes from sometimes it hardly has any value at all to a team. Sometimes it has exactly as much value as a single, which would be if there's nobody on the bases. But if there's other people on the bases on second or third, a single is worth much more than a walk. So to me, I think they should be adjusting those values, but anyways, I'll talk about that a little bit later as well. But the second big thing is that on base percentage and slugging percentage are just kind of arbitrarily given the same value, even though obviously I understand why they did this out of regression analysis to find out that it predicts well, but clearly they can't be worth the same, and there has to be a more precise way to do that than to just believe that they're worth the same. The common knowledge that I've heard is that most people believe on-base percentage was worth more, which makes sense to me, but again, it just seems like they arbitrarily count them as 1-to-1. I'm just not sure why the theoretical basis behind that doesn't seem to be any greater than we predicted it, and it seems like that works pretty well. Like, it seems like with how hardcore the baseball stats guys are, they could do better than that than just count them 1-for-1. Well, here's an idea to how to fix it, I guess, OPS. Again, I'm not a perfect expert, but it would seem to me that you could find. Here's what I would do. I would count up all the situations in a season of the at-bats for every team, like how many times has a guy on first, how many times has a guy on second or third, how many times has a guy on loaded bases, how many times has a guy on second, only second, without on first or third, etc. And basically calculate the probability of all these situations happening based on just figuring out throughout the league, just counting up on every team and just figuring out in an average season how likely, how often these situations happen. It seems like that shouldn't be too difficult to do for all the great calculations they do. And then if you had that data saying how likely each different batting situation is, then you could just then it'd be quite easy to tell how much each hit is worth, if that makes sense. How much a single is worth in that situation, how much a double is worth in that situation. And basically you could create a big matrix where because you counted how much each situation happens, you could count how much each type of hit is worth in that situation as well. I guess a way to put it would be expected value, which is like in poker or in other places I've seen, such as the blog such as the blog backpicks. Basically, expected value, it takes up the probability, and then your average value for that, how much on average you're going to win if you bet there, like in gambling, because once you know the probability of each situation happening, then you should know how much on average you're going to win in that situation. So if you applied that to like a hitting stat, you took up each situation, you know exactly how many times it happens in a season on average, then you should know how much each hit is worth, I would believe, just by counting how many bases it's going to score in each situation, how many hits. Yeah, as far as I can tell, when I look at that, I don't see any major flaws. It seems like it would be an accurate way to measure how valuable, or of course the final step would be, once you have all that information, then you know exactly how much a single is worth, how much a double is worth, how much a triple is worth, and how much a home run is worth, just by expected value, I guess. So I can't really see any flaws in that. It seems like if there's a way to measure like hitting stats, that seems like it's a much more theoretically sound way than OPS, I believe. Again, maybe there's something I'm missing in that, but that's just my suggestion to fix it. The point of the blog overall is that I think OPS, it has a lot of flaws. Like, it's just beyond me that they still haven't fixed the fact that walks and singles are worth differently, because there's a huge difference there. And honestly, I think OPS is, if you're familiar with the NBA stat, player efficiency rating, also called PER or per, I actually feel like that stat and OPS are almost exactly the same. Both do an excellent job of giving like a ballpark stat. It tells you who's good and who's bad, who's average. It splits up the groups that well. But if a player is ranked like 10th in OPS or PER and another player is ranked 12th in it, I'm not going to use that stat to tell me which one of those players is better. It's just not precise enough, because it's just not exact enough of a stat. So it's good at giving a shorthand look at how good a player is, but there seems to be a lot of faith in OPS that is somehow it's telling you like a real number of how good a player is, when I just don't see that at all. It's just it's a nice stat to have as like a quick hand like PER is, but it's not like some concrete thing that people should trust, and it seems like there's a ton of trust in it, which seems kind of weird for me for how pinpoint and mathematically sound the baseball stat guys are. So anyways, that's video blog number 10. I'm back every Wednesday doing one of these. I'll try to get some draft videos up on Fridays as well, not every Friday, but thank you for listening, and see you later.